I think there are great tools out there, hireEZ being one of them, to give you a good snapshot of the marketplace and talent moves and where people are going to and from, who your competitors are hiring.
Welcome to another episode of the Speakeasy podcast. I am so excited for our special guest, Jody Simon. As a former global head of talent sourcing at Zoom and head of global sourcing at Okta, Jody has been instrumental in driving innovation through the adoption of cutting edge technologies. And now she switched her focus to building an amazing team at Region.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me a little bit of your story and what you're currently doing right now.
Long story short, I graduated college. I was living in upstate New York. I had a degree in art, was trying to figure out what to do, and was making menus for diners. My mother mailed me a clipping from the New York Times for a job that basically said the sky's the limit. I called them that day. They asked me to get on the train, come down to New York City, and that was my first job as an agency recruiter. So I took the job and it was like $20,000 draw versus commission with almost 2-hour commute in every direction. And I fell in love with the field.
Help me understand what you're currently doing right now, what you've been doing the last couple of years, because there has been some transitions, some pivots in your career, and excited to dive in deep of what that looks like for other people that may be making that transition as well.
Careers in sourcing and recruiting are interesting because they're nonlinear. They don't have to go one way or another. I came to Regent just a couple of months ago. I love it. I knew this company was growing quickly. It is a startup and they're building the world's first sea glider. It's really exciting to work on something that's tangible and hiring all of the engineers that are building the first new mode of transportation in more than 40 years. Coming off the back of 2 leadership roles, I wanted to do something a little different and get back to my roots and really dig in and find people, build relationships, and create strategies around engagement as opposed to just managing teams all the time. I wanted to get back in the weeds myself.
You've led global teams at like Zoom and Okta. Let me understand the pivot from a leadership back to an IC role.
I love it. I mean, for me, it keeps everything fresh. For so many years, if you're always in management, you're creating slide decks and spreadsheets and speaking to upper management and managing a team. And you very rarely have time to actually look at the latest and greatest tools to do A/B testing yourself to figure out which messages resonate and to look at everything that's coming in the market, everything brand new that'll help you do your job better. And if you decide to go back into management again later, help your teams do their jobs better as well. So I think it's great to be able to do both. It keeps me fresh and on top of my game and also gets me back into remembering how to build the best Boolean, how to do, all the things that if you are not constantly working on it, you forget over time, and it's really fun to go back and kind of be technical all over again.
I'm curious about that interview process. Was there any type of selling to the companies that you were interviewing for of saying, yes, I do want to go back into an individual contributor role? Was there any like push? She's just going to take it right now and then go back to leadership. Was there any conversations around that?
There's definitely, I think, a good question. I mean, there's definitely a learning curve there for a lot of companies, partially on what makes a sourcer tick. I mean, we want to stay technical. A lot of us just really, really love what we're doing. There is a little bit of selling. There are companies that get it. There are companies that you really have to educate and tell them why. I mean, there was a lot of, why do you want to do this? It's not because the market is lousy. It's not because there are less jobs for leadership. It's because I really enjoy this. And I think when you're interviewing, if you get a foot in the door, that actually comes through. It does shine through. When you enjoy doing something, it's very easy to talk about it. You get excited about it. And I think that's a lot of what happened. In addition to, I think anyone will tell you in this industry over time, relationships, relationships, relationships. Speak to everyone, talk to everyone, get to know them, stay in touch because those people know you at this point and know that you love what you do and know that you're going to work hard for them and that you're very excited to go back to your roots and not just lead people. Nobody thinks I'm going to leave them. Um, and then you kind of unofficially start leading teams anyway at most places, like not on purpose, but it's from a different vantage point. It's more from a mentor, which I very much enjoy. It is, sharing what you've learned over the years.
What would you say for somebody that either wants to stay individual contributor role or go into leadership?
I would say that starts with knowing yourself, right? And your strengths and what you really enjoy. I have a brother who's also in this industry, and he very, very much enjoys budgets and spreadsheets. He just loves it. Me, on the other hand, I enjoy the hunt. In a lot of ways, staying an individual contributor for as long as I did was a no-brainer. And then I just kind of fell into leadership roles just because I've been doing it for so long and loved it so much. Knowing yourself, I think helps a lot. There are a lot of different paths you could take. There absolutely companies that understand and appreciate that a sourcer or recruiter may always want to be a sourcer or recruiter and that you can grow within your industry and just grow your skills and grow to be a mentor or even teach some classes at your current company. There's plenty that you can do to kind of master your craft and stay an individual contributor. But if you enjoy all the other things and you really want to be leadership, I also have learned over the years that salaries don't differ that much between a principal individual contributor versus somebody in leadership, unless your aspirations are way more than like sourcing or recruiting and you want to lead an entire talent acquisition organization.
Can you share some insights into your decision to transition industries and what experiences have prepared you for that transition?
I started an agency like a lot of people did. I did that for quite a while in the beginning and then worked for small woman veteran-owned company and kind of fell into Raytheon after that. Worked in defense and then became a contractor because of where I lived. At the time, there was not a whole lot of desire for folks to work remotely. So I became a contractor working remotely and did big companies back and forth between defense, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Kellogg's, and I loved the challenge of going from, like, a Raytheon and a Lockheed Martin to Kellogg's and working on sales, because I feel like a good sourcer, good recruiter can find anything. It's just a matter of really digging in and learning about the company and how to read a resume and how to read a job description. The transition for me happened when the doors kind of opened in COVID and allowing people to work remotely. I took a chance and decided I really wanted to try some of the West Coast companies because they were not looking for remote employees at the time, and then they were more open to it. I gave that a shot. It was a great learning experience for me as well. And I think the thing that I missed was working on something that's tangible. And coming back to Region is exciting for me because it is a tangible product. I like being able to put my hands on something, dig into something, and feel like I'm working with folks that are creating something brand new.
How do you get up to speed in this kind of new environment, in this new space? How do you increase the credibility and the trust within your partners that you're supporting?
I think it's not so different. I don't wanna say an engineer is an engineer. I mean, there are a ton of languages, and there's a ton of different directions an engineer can go in. Being able to dig in, doing research when you first get to a company, from asking a ton of questions to Googling a lot of technology and looking things up to looking at your competitors, all the research up front makes you a much better sourcer. I'm a big fan of researching upfront everything you need to know about the role you're looking for, and then speaking to the people that you're actually sourcing and asking them, this is my rec, and it's okay even after 30 years of doing this to say, I'm not as familiar with this position. Okay, this is new to me. Tell me a little bit about what you do on a day-to-day basis, and tell me a little bit about this technology and that technology. And here's the job requisition. How would feel you would fit into this environment? Have you done something similar? So lots of questions, lots and lots of research on the front end, and working very closely with hiring managers to increase the credibility. Never shrink back. Don't be invisible. Make sure that you're asking a ton of questions. They will appreciate it. And also calibration early on. I always recommend that your first couple of people you find, you calibrate very early on, weekly meetings minimally. Is this the right person? Don't wait a month and keep on looking for the wrong thing over and over again. Make sure that you calibrate early and often.
I feel like the best recruiters, the best sourcers that really go into those conversations come with data to be a consultant and be more of a talent advisor. Walk me through how you utilize data to drive those conversations and drive change with those hiring managers.
We have several weekly reports, and part of our reporting, everything from here's the available talent in the market, here are the average salaries. This is what our competitors are paying. And, this is what you're looking for. And if we add a skill, this is how the market shrinks. And if we say, okay, we're going to forego these two skills, we will teach somebody to do that. Here's how the market in that position grows. I think there are great tools out there. I mean, hireEZ being one of them to give you a good snapshot of the marketplace and talent moves and where people are going to and from, who your competitors are hiring.
Has it differed from working at a large organization to now in a startup?
They are definitely different beasts. I've done both, throughout my career. The startup is fast paced. When you're working for like a larger organization like a Raytheon, there's more open roles. So I don't want to say that they're less picky. They're not less picky, but there's more open roles. So you have, well, this person doesn't have this one skill, but that's okay. Everybody else on the team does, so they can learn it. Whereas I think at a startup, every person you hire is incredibly important to the success of the organization. So it is a very different feel that you have to get it right. You really need the right person in the right role at the right time, not just a great software engineer, but a great software engineer who can advance the company.
How do you coach your hiring managers to maybe take a risk on an individual that can do the job and kind of push that needle?
It's not easy, but, that those are relationships. Those are the relationships you're building with your hiring managers. So you show them a good candidate. I think, number 1, taking notes, absolutely imperative. Taking great notes when you speak to somebody and sharing those notes with the hiring manager, not just sending a resume, but telling them, "Have this is my conversation. This is why I think they can do the job. This is what they did before and how it fits into the scheme of things that you want them to do here." I think that building those relationships, having a really good understanding of what it is you're searching for, and being able to express that to the hiring managers and telling them why you think this person would be good in this environment is absolutely critical.
When I've been working with startups in the past, some of the common misconceptions is, oh, they've never worked at a startup, so they can't ever work at a startup. What recommendations would you give to somebody from pivoting that's never been worked in a startup feel but want to? And how do you make that transition from maybe a bigger company to a startup?
I think there is definitely, I don't want to say a stigma, but there is, startups are very fast paced. And I think that a lot of larger companies are seen as being slower paced, having legacy software and legacy systems. and that folks that work in those companies won't be able to move quickly enough or don't have the latest technology. I don't believe that to be true. I mean, sure, I think that there are people like that everywhere at every company that have been at one company their whole life for 30 years and know the legacy systems. But those are not the people you're looking for. And they also don't want to come and work for your startup. They're very comfortable where they are, or they would have left in the last 25, 30 years where they were. When I'm looking at people from larger companies, I'm looking for people that understand the pace and understand the expectation, and that they have maybe been doing some study outside of their current job, or they're up on the latest technology and they're taking classes on their own. So you're really looking for the folks that are keeping themselves up to date, that are a little bored where they are and really want to take on that challenge, don't mind the hours, understand that it's also going to be a lot of transition at a smaller company. You're going to wear a lot of hats.
You spoke recently at SourceCon. Walk me through what that topic was all about, what you wanted the audience to learn, and give us a little snapshot.
So I did a panel with Elaine Davidson, who is another wonderful, wonderful recruiter. And we spoke about career transitions in sourcing, what that could look like, and the nonlinear career path. And even talking about the market now, what can you do today to keep yourself relevant? And if you're unemployed, what other fields of endeavor can you temporarily go into or maybe permanently go into?
When you pivot, what are those transferable skills that you see within recruiting and sourcing that could translate to a different industry or a different job?
We are relationship people and salespeople, a lot of us. Some of us are researchers, research scientists, and we really enjoy doing that as well. So some of us are both. Very much both. I mean, a lot of different personalities in our field. Once again, I go back to the kind of know yourself. Are you more of an introvert? Would you be happier pivoting into a research type role? I have seen people do it. I've also seen people go into education. They really enjoy teaching other people how to source. And I've seen people go into sales. I think some of us are like a combination of all of that. I'm a little more on the social side, and a lot of people are much, much better researchers. I mean, at SourceCon, one of the reasons I didn't want to talk about sourcing in general is there are folks out there in the community that are head and shoulders above me when it comes to finding people.
What recommendations would you give to the job seeker when they're applying to a role that's not a non-recruiting related role?
I think cover letters are incredibly important. And once again, back to relationships. Even working with somebody that builds relationships and can kind of tie those things together to the industry that you're looking for. There are a lot of really, really good career counselors out there. I feel like I do that sometimes in my spare time. But, the career counselor that helps you gear a resume towards the job you want to apply to and helps you really find those transferable skills and put them on paper.
I think it's also like identifying the companies that are willing to do that, and then
Yeah.
also being upfront about stating, yes, I'm willing to pivot and these are the transferable skills. Letting the company know, yes, I'm interested in the sales role versus talking about just recruiting.
100%. And don't just send a resume. Even in your resume, being able to write, I am a recruiter, and in this role, I have sold this many people, this many hiring managers on positions, on roles. I've worked with the same people over and over again. Here are my transferable skills. I really am a salesperson. By any other name, I am a salesperson. And it's same with research. I am a researcher. Look at the strings I build. Look at the technology I use. Look at what I've done. And really being able to sell that and explain to people, this is what I do for a living. I am this role you're looking for.
You've been in the industry for quite a while. What do you think the pain points within the recruiting industry are right now?
I feel like I've been through a few recessions. And I've worked both commercial and defense, and I've seen the ups and downs in every industry. And this is a little bit of a different beast in the 30 years or so years that I've been doing this. This is a little bit of a different beast. I will say though, one thing that I've been expressing to people, we just talked about career pivots. And there are a lot of people that have been looking for opportunities for a very long time and have not pivoted or attempted to make a pivot. Even if you pivot out of the industry, you might find something you love, or you could still pivot back in. Just like you can go from a leadership role to an individual contributor role. This is a skill that you have honed and you leave the industry and come back. And I feel like folks feel like, I've been out of work. I have to wait for another recruiting job. I have to wait for another sourcing job. You don't. You don't. I mean, there are other things that you can do in other industries that are hiring where you can really use your transferable skills. And it does not mean that you can't come back and be a recruiter or a sourcer. Once again, recognizing your strengths, where they fall in the current market, who is hiring right now, who is looking for people like you.
If somebody wants to stay in the industry, I feel like right now they got to put a lot of effort into doing that and setting themselves apart from the rest of the candidates out there. What are some ways that they can separate themselves and get noticed?
This is a very relationship driven industry. And the people that you've met along the way are your allies. And your work speaks for itself, but there are a lot of really wonderful recruiters, sourcers, managers, directors out there. And I feel like the ones that have really honed their relationships over the years are the ones that are having an easier time during a downturn in the market. It's not too late. It is never too late to join organizations, to tune into SourceCon, to introduce yourself to other people that, in the market, in your own industry that can vouch for you. I've seen a lot of people vouching for each other on LinkedIn, which I think is wonderful. And it's gotten people interviews. If I know somebody and I know you and I know that you would be good for the role, 100% I'll recommend you. And I feel like that recommendation from people goes a long way. It's never too late to start building relationships, and I think that now is the time to really do that and dig into the industry.
As being a leader at large organizations, doing the things that you're currently doing right now, how does one make a decision on like tech stack and the tools and resources like teams use? Like, what's that process? Is it from the ground up and the IC tells the manager, manager tells the TA leader of saying, hey, we need this? Or is it top down? Help me understand that process.
I think every company is a little different, and you bring up a very, very interesting point. I think everybody has kind of their favorite tools, right? And everybody has the tech stack that they're, I don't want to say used to using, but have had the most success with. I've seen companies, a lot of companies, and I found this with a lot of West Coast companies. It is a lot of top down. This is the tool we have. This is the tool we're going to use. Often I've wished that that was more of a bottom up. Like, we're the ones that have to use the tool. Ask us what's worked for us in the past. Ask us why it's worked for us, what makes the most sense. I think that this should mostly be a bottom up type of decision. It's also a relationship driven decision, and not in a bad way. I love companies that started small that I grew up with that have phenomenal customer service and that have grown with me or with my companies and have built things that I wanted or needed and really helped us to shape our organization. I think, there are a lot of companies, there's a lot of competition out there when it comes to your tech stack. And we do a lot of research on the bottom. We do a lot of research. We've used most of these tools. We've sat not just during not just a demo, but we've actually tried using them because a demo does not always give the best information. Every time you do a demo, you feel like you're buying a full-blown, fully built out product and you're getting something that's in its infancy and you're actually building it along with them and paying a lot of money to do so. I also have a lot of respect for leadership teams that understand that this is our domain. Like, we know these tools. We want to help you be successful and the organization be successful. So I'm a big fan, a big proponent of bottom up when it comes to tech stack.
When it's a bottom up decision, what are the common pain points over the last couple of years that you've been seeing?
Money, integration with existing tools, I think are two huge ones, obviously. How much does it cost? We're thinking we want the best tool for the job. And, a lot of times leadership is thinking, but what is it going to cost? Or how is it going to work with what we already have today? I mean, a lot of these fall into cross functional domains as well. So, is this tool going to work with what we have today for onboarding or our applicant tracking system? I think where bottom up, we have to be mindful of what already exists too. I'm also a big money saver. I'm not trying to start with a company and, there's a lot that we could do scrappy without a lot of tools, right? I don't want to walk into an organization and cost them a ton of money or right off the bat. I want to be able to start slow and small and show value in the tools and what we're doing.
It's not about technology and tools in this industry. Like you said, it's a people business, and we need to keep people at the forefront of this. Good leaders understand the whole holistic picture of this and what a good partnership could be and what a bad partnership can destroy. When you're partnering up with different companies, what are the main things that you really look into within a recruiting partnership?
Who I'm working for, what they're building. I like to know the personalities of the people. I like to see their passion, and that's incredibly important to me. The collaboration, the willingness to listen to somebody. I'm just a sourcer. I'm just a recruiter, but I have some knowledge too that I can share with you. So the ability of not just me being nice to a receptionist, but a VP being able to speak to me and recognizing that I have something to offer to a company. I think that's really important, the way you're treated at a company. I want to be respected for the work that I do and what I can offer the team. Every person is important at an organization, and nobody is less important regardless of their position, their level, or anything else. We all have a place in that organization. And I like leaders that recognize that.
As we wrap up, is there anything else that you want to share with the audience?
I will talk until I'm blue in the face. I've mentioned it a couple times about building relationships in the industry. Do it, do it, do it. Don't just do it when you're looking for a job. Don't just do it when you're unemployed. Don't just do it because you feel like now's the time. Always, always do it. It will help you down the line. It helps you keep your skills sharp. It helps you find jobs when you need it. It helps you find people if you're hiring and you need them. It's a part of our industry that I find incredibly important, and there are a lot of people that do it really well, and there are a lot of recruiters and sourcers that don't do it at all. They do their job and they go home and they never speak to anybody else. And I just cannot stress enough the importance of community in this industry.
What does community mean to you?
I'm always learning, I'm always teaching. I have people's backs, they have my back. There's always something new. I want to know what's new. I like gathering with people, speaking to people. I speak to them outside of work, and I enjoy the banter and talking to people outside of the industry as well. So, the community is everybody's kind of got their back, especially when the market is in a downturn. everybody here has everybody else's back.
As we wrap up this conversation with Jody, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time and speaking with me and to the whole region team. You guys are doing amazing things. I'm super excited to see those things in the air. And like Jody said, I want to challenge the audience to get connected, join the hireEZ community, invested in the academy to up level their skills, go to conferences, reach out to people like Jody, follow Jody on social media, and build relationships that extend farther than a like on social media and beyond a handshake. That's kind of the vision and the mission for this podcast, is to create this community that during the tough times and the good times, we're here for each other. So again, thank you so much, Jody, for your expertise, and looking forward to sharing this with the community.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.